Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rance here with you alongside Tommy Krysan, TK, broadcasting from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood in Baton Rouge. I'm coming to you from Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Studios, and we are presented by LaBear's Casino, where at LaBear's Casino, they will be watching the College World Series this weekend very intently, starting on Friday, actually. The College World Series at the Barstool Sportsbook will be the place to be. Great food, lots of space, they got the lazy boy chairs for the VIPs, giant screens all over the place, some great sports memorabilia all over the walls. And you can check it out at the Barstool Sportsbook inside LaBear's. I will be there watching the game on Saturday. Um, all right, today on Sports Shorts, we'll get to obviously talk some LSU baseball. Tommy has the College World Series odds for you gamblers out there. He'll tell you 1 through 8 what the odds are in Omaha. Also, some controversy right now on the PGA Tour / Live arrangement. There's a couple senators that are causing some problems, and an interesting illness or mystery illness with Jay Monahan, the head of the PGA Tour. He's not anywhere around. We'll tell you about that. The Oakland A's are playing well. They won a game last night. And even though they're moving to Las Vegas, they had an interesting story. 29,000 fans showed up at for the Oakland A's game, a season high number of fans that were in attendance. And Tommy will tell you why and all about that. But first, let's talk a little LSU. They left Alex Box Stadium at 9 o'clock this morning to a little fanfare. Fans were invited out to send them off, with the bus and all that kind of stuff as they're headed on a private plane to Omaha. Quite different from the days of catching a layover in Dallas and all that, like I did when I played. But the Tigers will arrive shortly in Omaha, and they'll work out there. They'll practice there today. They'll have opening ceremonies tomorrow night. And then Saturday, LSU will play. Friday is when it'll get kicked off. But tell us about the Vegas odds, Tommy. The Tigers, by the way, some folks might be surprised, are not the Vegas favorite.
Wake Forest would be the favorite. They got they're at plus 260. Florida's plus 360. LSU's plus 380. And then the rest of them kind of fall in line with Oral Roberts plus 2,600 being the long shot. Obviously, Oral Roberts never been to Omaha before. And, Wake Forest and LSU are the same side of the bracket 2. Florida on the other side, bracket 1, the weaker side. I think that's a consensus. Everybody agrees with that. But the Tigers will go primetime Saturday night, 6 o'clock, main platform of ESPN. If they win, they'll play 6 o'clock Monday. Lose, they'll play 1 o'clock Monday. So no game Sunday for LSU. The tournament actually gets underway Friday with a 1 o'clock and a 6 o'clock game from bracket 1 with Florida and Virginia and Oral Roberts also in there on that. Florida, Virginia, Oral Roberts, and TCU, the other side of that.
What's interesting is that in LSU's side of the bracket, and of course, it's 4 teams in their pool. The winner of that pool advances to the finals to take on the winner of the other pool, which is expected to be Florida. 3 of the top 8 national seeds are on LSU's side of the pool, and then you throw in a Tennessee who, even though they're not a top 8 national seed, they were supposed to be going into the season, and they played very, very well since the middle of the SEC season on. After game 15 of the SEC season, they've been a completely different team. They've been the team that we thought they would be going into the year. So, and then they went on the road to win 2 regionals. So, they're battle tested. It's a very similar story to Ole Miss a year ago, except they're expected to be good, where Ole Miss wasn't necessarily expected to be this good. Tennessee scares anybody. Nobody wants to play them. So you got this mega deal with Wake Forest, Stanford, and LSU, all top 8 national seeds. And on the other side, you got a Florida team who's, looking at a Virginia team who's won a national championship back in 2015. And that's a Virginia team that has a coach in O'Connor who's very familiar with Omaha. So that they feel like they belong there as a program. But the other 2 teams, TCU with a new coach, Schlossnagel's going to A&M. This is his second year as head coach. And you're talking about an Oral Roberts team that's just going to be touring the zoo and happy to be there. If they win 1 game, they'll be happy. So it's a very different feel from one bracket to the other. Where in bracket A, you got 4 teams that it's win the national championship or else, and in bracket B, you got a TCU program who feels good about himself, an Oral Roberts program that's happy to be there, Virginia program who's bouncing back from a couple down years, to a Florida team who expects to win.
Yeah, and Jay Johnson, one of 11 coaches to take 2 different teams to Omaha. Of course, he took Arizona there twice, and he talked a lot about that yesterday and how he's going to fully focus on his side of the bracket, not worry about the other side until it's time to worry about the other side. But Paul Maneri also on that list of the 11 coaches that have taken 2 teams, because he brought Notre Dame way back when and LSU a couple of times.
Yeah, and then Ron Polk, another legendary name on that list, did it at Georgia and Mississippi State, and obviously Augie Garrido, most famously, won national championships at both schools, and so anyway, all right. So the Tigers off and running. So do we? When I'm after the season's over with, and then we turn our attention to the Major League Baseball draft. Oh, by the way, Andrew Stevenson entered the portal, the transfer portal. He's a backup LSU outfielder. Not Andrew Stevenson, Josh.
Andrew's little brother, Josh. Yeah.
Andrew's little brother, Josh. Andrew, of course, already gone. But Andrew, who famously played 3 years at LSU and then made it to the big leagues, his younger brother, Josh, a St. Thomas More product, stuck around a couple of years. And a good player. Just unfortunately, you're at the one of the number one program in the country. You're going to always have guys that not only are really good players but are future major leaguers that you're competing against. And so Josh is going to enter the transfer portal. Don't be surprised if he ends up possibly at a UL Lafayette, for example, a program in his hometown that's obviously made it to a regional again this year under Matt Deggs over at Miami. And I'm sure other names will surface, of note once the season ends and once you Jay has these exit meetings with players and there's some honesty back and forth, questions asked, answers given. I think you'll see some other names possibly come in that portal. But for right now, there's one. But that said, then we turn our attention to the draft, which is going to be quite interesting. Will LSU go 1-2 in the draft? That's what we're waiting to see.
Well, and I think it's good that the draft is going to be after the College World Series. All the coaches have agreed with that. It used to be a major distraction, with guys getting that text message or getting that phone call, and then the guys who were disappointed, and then the guys who were pleasantly surprised. So it's really a good move on everybody's part that the draft will take place after Omaha. Focusing on Omaha, somebody's going to win it. 2 teams are going to get in the finals, which is the best of 3, and somebody's going to win it all. So I think that's important. I like the fact that it's after Omaha.
Well, the other thing too, Tommy, is that the other thing is that the to be clear, MLB determines when their draft is. Yeah. So it has nothing to do with the NCAA coaches or anything like that. But no, I do remember for years, for decades, that's the way it was. It was in early June, and you would be in Omaha, and guys would all of a sudden start wearing the hats of the teams that drafted them and things like that. And certain programs dealt with it better than others. Certain were more transparent than others. But no, it makes complete sense that the draft is in July, and you get through your college career before you have to, truly immerse yourself in the draft process. And I agree wholeheartedly. It's a good thing. We don't have to have all the conversation. It just was a couple of years ago where I can remember during the super regionals, watching the super regionals, and the draft would be happening potentially during the super regionals because the one year, there was rain delay and it pushed it back. And, in the middle of the championship game, guys are finding out where they're getting drafted. And that's just the ultimate distraction.
Well, and going back to your first part of this, Dylan Cruz, Paul Skeens, will they go 1-2? The Pittsburgh Pirates have the very first pick. And, Ronnie, I'll throw it at you. If you're the Pittsburgh Pirates and decided between Skeens and Cruz, who do you pick? I know my answer.
Well, it's a tough one because I'm Pittsburgh, they know their economics and they know their plan. But the short way of kind of looking at it is, I think Paul Skeens is Major League Baseball ready. Is he ready right now to be as good as he will be in a year or so? No. But can he go in right now and pitch out of that bullpen? Or can he go in right now and be a fifth starter? Yes. So you can get value with Paul Skeens immediately. And what I mean by that is, I think if he gets drafted in July, that guy can be in the big leagues in September. If not sooner. I mean, if they want to just for PR purposes put him right away without even pitching in the minor leagues, okay, fine. Or you can run him through your minor leagues, let him get one start at all the minor league ballparks, so you can, sell out and promote your player going through the organization. And that's a lot of times that happens. But here's a guy that with that 97 to 101 mile an hour fastball and the control he has, he can throw right now in the major leagues. So you get 4 years out of them, 5 years out of them before you can't afford them. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. The Pirates can't afford to pay Cruz or Skeens if they project the way they're supposed to, that Trout or that major contract at the end. So they're going to trade them at some point a few years down the road. So you're talking about, what can I get out of them for 4 years before they leave, or you have to get rid of them. And I think I would go with the pitching. I think I would go with Skeens, even though that's not the common thread. Unless financially things are going to change, or unless financially you can give Cruz potentially 4 or 5 years from now that 10-year, $300 million, $400 million deal. I think you take Skeens, you let him ride out for 4 years, and then you trade him and get what you can.
I pick Paul Skeens because it's all about the guy on the mound at almost any level of baseball. It's about the guy on the mound. And he, as you said, Major League ready. Ben McDonald has talked about that. Others have talked about it, that he's ready to make an impact. And it's got to play out, but he's the kind of guy that could really send that franchise to the next level. Starting with him and building around him might attract other players in the free agency thing. So I would pick Paul Skeens if I'm the Pittsburgh Pirates. All due respect to Dylan Cruz, who, should end up having a very good major league career.
Listen, we could put him in a bag, shake him up, and just pick one, and you're not going to go wrong. I mean, the fact
and I know the argument is, well, Cruz can affect the lineup every day, Skeens once every 6 days. I get that, okay? But in Major League Baseball, it's all about winning. Winning is all about who's on the mound. That's why I go with Skeens.
All right, speaking of Major League Baseball, let's talk Oakland A's. Oakland A's are going to be moving to Las Vegas. That became, even more official yesterday when the city and passed the funds that the A's needed for the little public-private part that they're going to do on the Strip, building their new stadium and everything. But at the same time, Oakland A's fans had a unique, protest.
There was a reverse boycott. Okay, they've been averaging like 8,000 fans. LSU outdraws the Oakland A's, when they have a big SEC weekend. And the ownership's under big criticism out there with the payroll and the players that they've let get away from the organization. So the fans, this has been organized for over a month. They picked the night to say, we're going to show that we can show up. We will show up if this ownership would go in a different path or a different direction. And the A's have actually won a few games lately. They were god-awful 10 days ago, and now they've won a few games. And, hey, that's still Major League Baseball players. That's still guys that, are of the elite group that can play Major League Baseball. So it was kind of odd, strange, and funny. And then Las Vegas was where they're going to end up. But, Ronnie, I go back as a kid, a little bit older than you, when the A's won 3 straight World Series titles, in the early 70s. Vida Blue, Louisiana native, and others, from Reggie Jackson, and we go Raleigh Fingers, we go down the list. And it was an amazing run that they had. A long time ago, they were in the Kansas City Athletics and then moved to Oakland, and it looks like they'll be leaving Oakland.
By the way, speaking of Vida Blue, he's in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, great lefty, and one of only I don't know who else, but a couple people that on the back of their jersey had his first name instead of his last name, had Vida instead of Blue. in the MLB.
You know what else? Vita Blue is the only pitcher to start an All-Star game for both the American League and National League. He started
cool.
as an Oakland A. He started back when they had their run, and then later in his career with the San Francisco Giants, he was an All-Star game starting pitcher. So Vita Blue, he just passed away recently, and when you read some of the numbers and the stats, I mean, it just blows you away. Especially compared, it was a different game back then, still baseball, but Vita Blue, one of the all-time greats, and so deserving to be in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, no question about that. I mean, he was quite the pitcher.
We've made it 15 minutes in without mentioning the Baton Rouge Rougarou, so we'll do that before we get to the.
Wait, one more Vita Blue thing. There's a picture I saw when he passed away on social media. He was at Delgado visiting with Rag Sherman, and Joe Sherman was in the picture. You know who else was in that picture, Ronnie? Kim Mulkey was a youngster. Somehow she was in that picture with Vita Blue, Rag Sherman, Joe Sherman, Kim Mulkey. It was kind of cool to see that. Go ahead, Rougarou.
Well, the Rougarou dropped one last night, but they're still having a good start to the year. 8-5 on the season. Off the next 2 nights, much needed little Wednesday, Thursday break. But they'll be back on the road Friday, Saturday, and return home for a Sunday, Monday home series. So make your plans to join us this Sunday and Monday night, 7 p.m. At the Rougarou game, 7 p.m. Sunday and Monday night. If military appreciation and first responders appreciation on Sunday, if you are a current or former first responder and you've got your ID, you and a guest get in free to the Sunday game, and then Monday we've got dollar dogs on Monday, dollar hot dogs on Monday. You don't want to miss that. So make your plans to come out. Go to brrougarou.com. Going to be a lot of fun. Rougarou playing good baseball right now, and we want to keep that going. We are, 8-5, 13. We're just over 50% of the first half. So the way the Texas Collegiate League works is you have a first half champ and a second place team champ. And if you are first or second, that means you're guaranteed the playoffs, and in the playoffs, and you're guaranteed hosting at least one playoff game. So important for the Rougarou to finish strong in the remaining 11 games that we have in the first half and secure that home playoff game first week of August.
And go to brrougarou.com. Information on a youth camp coming up at Denham Springs next week. And then don't forget, Wednesday, July 5, the Texas Collegiate League All-Star Game, which will be played at Alec Box Stadium, Skip Perkins Field. And so brrougarou.com. A lot of kids at the ballpark last night. That's always great to see. It's a great family experience. And they're playing good baseball. They got some good ball players for the Rougarou. They got some of the top hitters in the league. Their bullpen has been outstanding. Last night, Patrick Wright and I on the call, and Patrick, in like over 100 innings pitched, it only allows 70-something hits. So the pitching staff's doing a great job.
Let's talk LIV PGA Tour. Some controversy going on right now because we all thought PGA and LIV had kumbaya, and they did. And we don't know the terms and the details yet of what they're not calling it a merger, but partnership's going to look like. But now we got a couple of politicians that have thrown their name in the hat. A couple of Democrats, one from Oregon, state of Oregon, is asking the United States Attorney General to consider looking into this deal. Obviously the LIV Saudi-backed LIV Tour has people up in arms, has had people up in arms for a year. And so now it's a little bit of a political play. I don't think it's going to change anything. I don't think anything's going to happen, but it still just shines a little bit of a negative light on this potential PGA LIV Tour. Do you have any thoughts on it, TK?
Well, it's not going to go away. The story's there. And you got the United States Open, which begins tomorrow morning at Los Angeles Country Club. By the way, Ronnie, I was watching the Golf Channel the other night, and they did like the flyover on all the holes at this golf course. Wow, it's amazingly beautiful, tough. There are 5 par 3s, 2 of them over 280 yards.
Oh.
Par 3. Now, some of them are a little elevated or whatever, but that's typical of the U.S. Open. And Brooks Koepka, Rory McIlroy, who, had their words at each other through the media, are grouped together tomorrow's first round. This is the United States Open. Ends on Father's Day Sunday. a big tradition. It's the greatest. It's the golf tournament for the United States. The U.S. Open, the British Open will be next week. But certainly the Live Golf story and the PGA Tour and PGA and the United States Golf Association, it's not going away anytime soon. But, hey, I'm fired up for the U.S. Open. And for those of you who have not seen pictures or video of the golf course yet, you're going to be blown away. This place is absolutely spectacular, and the rough is as high as ever. If you and I got in that rough, Ronnie, we would kind of just, okay, let's go to the next hole.
Right. Take the penalty.
Yeah, we go to the next tee box, 288-yard par 3.
Jay Monahan, the head of the PGA Tour, he is kind of been MIA since the whole Live controversy. They've got an acting commissioner or president or whatever they actually call his title, but he's dealing with some personal medical issues right now, and they ask that everyone allow him some privacy while he deals with some. Now, if he's dealing with personal medical issues, then God bless him. We wish him well and speedy recovery. But man, the timing is just a little suspicious that in a day and age where he's getting the most criticism of his life, and you've got a number of people calling for his job, all of a sudden we got some medical issues, huh?
It is, like I said, if it's fact that's accurate, we wish anybody well. We want all people to get on the other side of that kind of stuff. But it is kind of ironic or pun intended that it's happening right now, and the U.S. Open, and Congress wanting to look at all this stuff. A lot of golfers have been very vocal, through social media about their thoughts on this whole thing. And I don't know. I think at the end of the day, when we get a little bit down the road, or as Rance always says, let it play out, I think it's going to end up being good for the game of golf. Now they're talking about the players on the PGA Tour who did not take the bucks, whatever that money was, to go to Live. They're looking at a way to compensate them now for staying on the PGA Tour. It's crazy. Follow the money, right? That's the old saying. We've all used that for 50 years. Follow the money, and you'll find out what's happening.
Well, the other thing, too, is you even brought this up. Has anybody looked into what Monahan got?
I think he got a pile.
Deal? Is there a Cayman bank account with his name on it and some special codes? $50 million in there, because look, the way the Saudis are throwing away the money around the money and can throw away the money, and you look at like FIFA, the World Soccer Association, and all that, how they pay off dignitaries and politicians and heads of organizations. We know they do this. Why wouldn't they try to do it with Monahan? And everybody's got a number. It doesn't matter what it is. Everybody's got a number, and so. Maybe that, we may not see Mr. Monahan back on the PGA after this. He'll have some medical issues, and he'll be in the Caymans, or he'll be in the Switzerland living there soon.
Well, he'll move down to 30A in Destin, Florida, where Ed Orgeron and everybody else that got the big settlements is living. So he'll be down there jogging with Coach O.
All right, Tommy and I will be back on Friday for more Sports Shorts Daily, and we'll be talking, of course, College World Series and LSU baseball. We'll get into that in a big way on Friday, and don't forget Sports Shorts Radio this Saturday from 10 to noon. Please like and share this video, everybody. On the way out, tell us about Tremonti's.
Yeah, Tremonti's lasagna is the lunch special today. Got boiled crabs, all you need, the wine, the whiskey, the meat, the seafood. They can do catering, small group, large group. They're on-site catering. They'll deliver it to you. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, Jefferson Highway in Baton Rouge.
All right, so Tom.